Let's talk crypto. I want to have a look at Bitcoin along with a couple of other charts. Bitcoin is one of those infamous assets that everybody wants to buy the dip, but when the dip happens, they're probably even more afraid with Bitcoin than with other stocks. And it's such an interesting phenomenon. I've been talking about this for weeks and weeks as we've seen market volatility. Why don't people buy the dip? Because everybody thinks that this dip will never recover, and Bitcoin is certainly one of those. But Bitcoin's been performing quite well. Let's talk about a couple of details here and look at a couple of corresponding charts. Okay, so let's talk Bitcoin, gold, US dollar, and MSTR. I think that's a good one, along with Coinbase. Let's have a little peek at a couple of things. Here is a comparative chart between Bitcoin and gold. Gold, they almost kind of exchange places how they lead, but gold tends to lead a little bit more. We've seen gold outperformance, and gold outperformance. Bitcoin always seems to catch up, and it does tend to outperform gold for these periods as well. So right now we've got gold up. Bitcoin has been playing catch up. Gold has had this straight up run while Bitcoin was coming down. And we see that coming right back up again and catching up with gold. So does it continue? That is the question. I think there's opportunity there. Here is a look at Bitcoin versus MSTR versus Coinbase. These are all pretty well in sync with each other. Coinbase being that purple line there, MSTR blue, and Bitcoin white. And you can see it, they all follow each other pretty well. So Bitcoin's been making its way back up. I'm certainly keeping an eye on Coinbase, which is following Bitcoin up. Coinbase at this current moment sits about 43% off highs. That's pretty significant. Why wouldn't we want to buy things at a 42% discount, especially in a short period of time? Do we think Coinbase can keep up with Bitcoin? And do we think Bitcoin can keep up? MSTR is a little bit of a different animal, since it is just Bitcoin and they're just buying Bitcoin, whereas Coinbase is more, they're making commissions, they're producing revenue from various things. MSTR is just buying Bitcoin and holding Bitcoin. So that's an interesting one. I think that's certainly a play for those that really understand the process, but I really like Coinbase along with Bitcoin. I think there's great opportunity here. Here is Bitcoin in the face of the US dollar, the dollar index. Now, we can see that these tend to be very inverse, right? And so we've seen in the past here, we've seen strong Bitcoin performance with dollar weakness. We've seen big dollar weakness with Bitcoin, big dollar strength with Bitcoin weakness, and a little bit of consolidation there. And we're going back to Bitcoin strength. Does dollar weakness continue from here? So we're seeing a very steady relationship look like it is continuing on. So I think there's some interesting things to be watching there. All in all, I think we have a good opportunity with some Bitcoin right now. It's certainly making its way back up there again. Bitcoin's set at or just below 80,000 for a little while. It's back up in the mid 90s. Will it retest highs? Will it continue on through there? Bitcoin seems like a decent opportunity for current market instability and uncertainty. So I like that opportunity. I think there's some good things there. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, what you're doing in this current market condition. Good luck. Happy trading. Jared Johnson, over and out.